This is a help video for Unit 4, Proportions and Percentages, Practice Problems, Part 2. So you should have scratch paper to work these problems. And if you're stuck on any of them, you can fast forward to the ones you don't know, and I will be going over how to solve them. You're going to see these problems again, hint, hint, hint. All right. The first problem on Part 2 is use the tape diagram to solve 56 is what percent of 70? So they're wanting you to use the tape diagram. So when I do that, I see that 0 is first and under 0%, like it's supposed to be. Under 100% is 70, which is my whole. So I need to find and get 56 up here. And I need to see what percent it is. Notice on the percents, they're counting by tens. So I'm going to go backwards. 100% minus 10 is 90%. And then 90% minus 10 is 80%. So now I've filled in those lines with my percent numbers. Now let's go to the top. They're counting by sevens. So 70 minus 7 gives me the next number, which is 63. And 63 minus 7, 63 minus 7, let's do it the long way. Borrow from this, it becomes a 5. 13 minus 7 is 6. Bring down my 5. 56. Oh, that's the one we're looking for. It says to solve the problem, 56 is what percent of 70? Noah uses the double number line below. There it is. This is my percent. 56 is 80% of 70. So that's where we're going to go. Down and select 80%. So if you were stuck on this problem, that's the way to do it. Again, I saw they were counting by tens, so I subtracted by 10, subtracted by 10. They were counting by sevens on these lines, so I subtracted by 7, subtracted by 7. All right, on to the next one. Solve the problem. What is 25% of 160? Percent of number problems. We must make this percent a decimal. When you have two numbers and an of in between, that means times. So we're going to make 25% a decimal first. We move it 2 to the left. If you don't see a decimal, it's behind the number. So that's 12.25. So it's 0.25 times 160. And that will give us the answer, which is 40. All right, let's move to the next problem. Solve the problem. What is 39% of 200? Again, you've got two numbers with of in the middle, means times, but I can't use the 39 to make it a decimal. You cannot multiply and divide percents. They have to be in decimal or fraction format. So to make 39 a decimal, the decimal's behind the 39. I move it 2 to the left. 2.39 times 200 is how we solve this problem. If we're doing it the long way, which I probably should show you, goes in there 0, 9 goes in there 0, 9 goes multiplied by 2 is 18. Then we start our second line, which means 1 below here. 3 goes into 0, 0 times. 3 goes into 0, 0 times. 3 times 2 is 6. I'm at times. But, I'm going to do my 0. Going to bring down my 0. Going to bring down my 8. And 1 plus 6 is 7. I have two decimals in the multiplication problem. Remember, when it's multiplication, you count your decimal places. Start at the end. 1, 2. Our answer is 78. All right, on to the next problem. What is 150% of 32? Again, you've got two numbers with an of in the middle. That means multiplication, but I can't use the percent. It has to be in decimal form. So I'm going to switch it to a decimal by moving the decimal place, which is right behind the number, 2 to the left. That gives me the problem of 1.5 times 32. And let's do it out the long way for those of you that need the practice. 5 times 2 is 10. 0, carry the 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 more is 16. Now I move on to my second number, and remember I start the answers below the second number. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. 0 comes straight down. 6 plus 2 is 8. 1 plus 3 is 4. Now I go to my multiplication problem. I had one decimal in that problem, so I need to move one decimal in the answer, meaning it's 48. And that's how we get those. All right, on to the next one. 13 is 50% of what number? This is a different kind of problem. You've got your of, but you don't have a number on both sides. So this tells me I do the opposite of multiplication, which is divide this number by my decimal. Okay? So when you see an of and what number after, you're going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is divide by your decimal. So I have to change 50% to a decimal. 1, 2, that's 0.5. Okay? And the problem is 13 divided by 0.5. So we're trying to see 13 is half of what number. Some of you might be able to do that without the calculator and just in your head. But if we're going to do it the long way, 13 goes in the box. 0.5 goes outside. We can't have decimals outside. If we have a decimal outside, we have to get rid of it. We have to move it. So I'm going to move this 1 to get rid of it. And if I move this one 1, then I have to do the same thing here, leaving me with this problem. All right. 5 goes into 13. How many times? 2. 5 times 2 is 10. I subtract. Bring down my 3. Bring down my 0. 5 goes into 30 6 times. 5 times 6 is 30. And we're down to 0. The answer is 26. 13 is 50% of 26. All right, on to the next problem. 18 is 120% of what number? Again, we've got the of, but behind it we've got what number. So that means we do the opposite of multiply, which is divide by our percent in decimal form. So first thing I need to do is make 120% a decimal. The decimal is right there behind the number. 1, 2. I get 1.2. So it's going to be 18 divided by 1.2. All right, the long way. 18 goes in the box. 1.2 goes outside. We can't have decimals in the divisor on the outside number, so we have to move it to get rid of it. 1 to the right. If we move that one, we have to do exactly the same thing inside, giving me 12 on the outside, 180 on the inside. So 180 divided by 12. 12 goes into 18 one time. 12 times 1 is 12. I subtract. Leaves me 6. I bring down the 0. 12 goes into 60 5 times. 12 times 5 is 60, so we done. Our answer is 15. 18 is 120% of 15. Down to my next problem. 21 is what percentage of 30? So in this question, they are looking for the percent. We don't have one. And on these, that means we need to make a fraction, turn it into a decimal, and make it a percent. So it's always the first number over the second number. So I set up my fraction first, 21 over 30. That means 21 divided by 30. 21 divided by 30. When you do that, it's going to give you a decimal. Okay, it's going to give you a decimal. And so what I'm going to do is do it out the long way. For those of you that need the practice for the non-calculator section, 30 cannot go into 21, so I'm going to put a decimal there. The decimal goes straight up. How many times does 30 go into 210? 7 times. 30 times 7 is 210. So I'm left with 0.7 as my decimal. I need a percent, so I need to move that decimal 2 to the right. 1, 2. 70%. So 21 is 70% of 30. So that's how you do these problems. And you've got to be able to do those to this unit on your unit test and your unit post-assessment on Illuminate as well as LEAP. So I hope that was helpful. This was the second review on the Unit 4 practice problems.